No formal episode today. I'm on the road traveling from a family property up in northern Wisconsin. It's been in my family for generations. Was helping my old man over this weekend and the last couple days this week. But wanted to offer some reflections for you on some things I've been thinking about and tell you what's coming up for Veracity Hill. And so, what I've observed with the Ordo Salutis series, and especially as I've been working through the atrocious roundtable discussion critiquing Matthew Bates's work, is that there is so much infighting in the evangelical community, in the evangelical theological community, the evangelical apologetics community. There is so much infighting that it's probably, if I had to draw upon a business principle, the 80-20 rule, right? 80-20. It's been used in business and economics and the like. So, one common example is that 80% of the workers do 20% of the work, 20% of the workers do 80% of the work. These sorts of ratios. Of course, it's painting with broad strokes. But if I had to put a percentage on it, we can look at the 80-20 principle and think, man, Christian theologians, evangelical Christian theologians, evangelical Christians, it's like 80% of the time they're critiquing the in crowd, their brothers and sisters in Christ, and 20% of the time they're critiquing non-believers or something like that. So I see this with Matthew Bates's work. People critique it over and over and over. I've seen this when people critique Mike Licona, one of my friends, and it really can be disheartening and disappointing. And you'd almost wish people would spend their energies in more productive ways that can build up and are constructive rather than destructive or critical. Because even when we want to critique an argument that's being presented, there's a way of doing so in a constructive manner. So, of course, you want to issue corrections as needed. You may have to correct an argument, or you see a flaw in an argument. There's a way of doing that where you can offer a helping hand rather than just simply tearing a person down. What better way to defeat your opponent than by getting them to join your side? That is the best way you can win someone over. You can critique them. You could, figuratively speaking, bury them, assassinate their character. People do this all the time. You see it all the time. Of course, it doesn't make their argument wrong, but you destroy the person. But it's so much more productive in the grand scheme of things if you can get people to agree with you or to understand your viewpoint better, such that they're no longer attacking you, for instance. So, a recent example in my life when I did this was I was doing some debates over Vincent of Lorenz on Twitter, one of those Gallic monks, and there was a young gentleman. He was going to make some videos critiquing my view, which I'm fine with. People can do that sort of thing. But, then I turned to direct messaging, and he and I exchanged more messages about the subject matter, and it became very down to earth. What was a Twitter debate, maybe a Twitter war, in some people's views, not me, but for some people, they might think of it like that. I just turned it into a one-on-one conversation, and that almost changes over and over. Write something online that you someone to their face. Never write something online that you wouldn't say to someone's face. And if you reflect on that advice, you might find yourself, you're going to delete that comment, because next thing you know, you're going to get embroiled in further debate, or it's going to make things worse. It's going to bring tension to a relationship. And so if you use that guiding principle, you might find that, hey, you are the same person behind the keyboard as in person. And I think that's it's worked for me. I've found it useful. Even though from time to time I say things passionately online, I would say those things to people's face. And so that's why I'm never scared of anybody sharing anything, whether that's in a private message. If they want to share something public, go for it, because I'm not scared. And so we shouldn't be messaging people, say on Facebook, with something that could come back to bite us in the butt later. So we want to act and conduct our ways in such a manner that honors God, who knows all. He knows what we do in the dark, and what we do in the dark will come into the light. So we might as well just be real with people. We don't need to lie to people. We don't need to deceive people. We can pursue truth together. And nothing that we say or do then will come back to haunt us. So that's just one guiding principle I've had in my life for over a decade now, I guess. The internet with Facebook and social media, I guess over a decade now. Yeah, it was big when I was in college. That was, I guess 15 years ago. Man, time flies. Well, so, I've just come to be a little disheartened with the Christian infighting. When we accuse people of not really being a Christian, there's a gentleman in my community who is related to a man that he doesn't think is a Christian, even though I've had lunch with this guy he thinks isn't a Christian. And the guy, in my understanding, most assuredly is. He believes Jesus is Lord. He's a Trinitarian. Now, the fellow, of course, has theological questions about, say, divine foreknowledge and the like. But for people to accuse other people of not being a Christian, I'm not saying we should lack discernment. But what I am saying is that we shouldn't be so tribalistic. We shouldn't be making non sequiturs. Well, if you don't, for example, let me give you one. Well, if you're an open theist, then you're not a Christian. Now, me, I'm not an open theist, so I don't have to worry about that attack. I've seen that attack being lodged against open theists. Now, that doesn't mean that they're not Christians. I mean, does the Nicene Creed, for instance, stake a claim on divine foreknowledge? Can someone share that with me? Not to my knowledge. So we may have to ask ourselves, what does it mean to be a conservative, theologically conservative Christian? But that doesn't mean that someone's not a Christian, right? This logical fallacy is the no true Scotsman fallacy. When you want to move the goalposts or you change the criteria for what we actually mean when we say someone's a Christian. So we want to be careful not to be tribalistic. We want to reach people where they're at individually. We don't want to ascribe motive. Motive is very hard to prove, say in a court of law even, and how much more so online. We just kind of might be throwing our suspicions out there when we make accusations of motive. I've had certain someones whose last name starts with an M, ends with a W, accuse me of various ill motive, even though I've attended to their bad critiques on that. One was about a website that we run called apologetics315.com, and I was accused of creating bad links. It was just total bogus nonsense, the suspicion of people. So it's hard to prove motive. So you just want to get people's beliefs in writing. Don't ascribe motive to people, and deal with what's written and ask clarifying questions. We want to pursue the truth, right? The podcast tagline is striving for truth. We want to all seek the truth together. We want to have right beliefs. Now, of course, we're bound to be wrong, but we still strive together to understand the world that God has created here. I do see that I've got some comments from Chris Stockman. Chris, unfortunately, I can't quite make out the comments, but thank you. I'll be sure to check those after the fact. Veracity Hill drive time, I got to keep eyes on the road, generally speaking, here, and I'll peek down from time to time. So I won't be able to read comments, but thank you nonetheless for watching. So, at Veracity Hill, we're pursuing truth together. We are seeking fair dialogue, and we want to build bridges. We want to build bridges to people that we disagree with, and especially, you would think, with brothers and sisters in Christ. We don't have to take people down. We don't have to be all awkward relationally. I've experienced it. I think that's really odd when, I go to the annual meeting of the Evangelical Theological Society. I've seen it with other people. I've seen it with myself, where people that I may disagree with me, they'll be awkward toward me. And it's like, hey, look, we're brothers in Christ. We have far more we agree on than the few points we disagree on. So why do we have to be all awkward about it? So I think people overvalue. What happens when that occurs is an overvaluing of tertiary issues. And one of the illustrations or examples that I give to help people understand just how much I want to have a rightly ordered taxonomy of beliefs is that I've partnered, even though I am very much not a Calvinist, I have ministry partners who are Calvinists. I have had board directors. One is off cycle right now, but he's a Calvinist. And so I'm not afraid of partnering with Calvinists. They are my brothers in Christ. So even though I am strongly against Calvinism, people understand and recognize that it's a non-essential Christian doctrine. And so we can have a rightly ordered framework of our beliefs, and then we can really focus on the major doctrines together. We can enjoy discussing the minor doctrines together in a spirit of civility and love and charitability. But there are problems when we have our priorities mixed up. And I think this happens a lot in the theological community. It happens a lot in the apologetics community, when people will bicker over the meaning of the word "in." This is a recent example, how in Ephesians 2, Paul talks about being dead in our trespasses and sins. Dead being in our trespasses and sins. What does the word "in" mean, right? I talked about this several weeks ago. And of course, I gave my take on what I think Paul means there. But to cause tension, or worse, division, because we are disagreeing over the type of meaning that Paul has over the word "in." Yes, we can disagree. Yes, it's going to lead to different ways of understanding human nature and our place in the world. But to think that we should therefore not talk to people anymore over an issue because they believe X, Y, and Z, and we believe A, B, and C. I mean, I just think that the apostles, I think that Jesus would just be sad over the state of relations in the evangelical community today. Yes, we can create our institutions, we can create our statements of faith, but do we want them to be so prohibitive that we are spending 80% of our time attacking other Christians and only 20% of the time reaching non-believers? Perhaps we need to reframe our perspective, and 20% of the time internal criticism and 80% of the time looking more outward for how we can respond to the attacks against Christianity, rather than framing this as, attacks from within, something like that. I just get disheartened because I can see people ascribing motive to my friends, and they're just wrong. They're just wrong. They make logical fallacies. They present non sequiturs. They attack the character of people. They are, in some cases, just straight up inaccurate. They'll make claims like people find themselves in institutions and they need to appease people to get tenure. But yet, those people are not part of left-leaning institutions at all. And so they're lumped in with those groups. So that's logically fallacious. We want to be careful in how we think so that we can have accurate beliefs and pursue a spirit of love together in the work that Christ has called us to. So that's sort of the reflection I've got right now. And I see we've got more comments. I want to thank folks for chiming in. But hey, let me tell you about an upcoming opportunity. If you've been following my work at Veracity Hill for some time now, then you may be interested to come spend time with me. So this autumn, I'll be putting on a golf retreat in the Northwoods of northern Wisconsin. So I've drafted a flyer. I'll create a web page and get the registration page set up hopefully this week. But if you are interested in a golf retreat, a weekend retreat of golf, fellowship, fun, and just talking theology, come on over to northern Wisconsin. The dates will be September 19, 2021. So that's a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. If you want more information right away, go to veracityhill.com and use the contact form. But be on the lookout for veracityhill.com/golf, since I'll put more details there. The cost will be in the $300 range, which is stellar when you consider lodging, food, and golf all included with the price. Very affordable. And we'll get to spend a fun weekend together in late September, beautiful autumn colors up in northern Wisconsin. So it's a great opportunity for those in the apologetics theology community that also enjoy golf and spend time together, which is really what it's about, spending time together and having fun together. So those are my reflections for today. I look forward to being with you next week back at our regularly scheduled live stream Tuesdays at 2 p.m. and I'll continue in my work through of that roundtable discussion, really defending Matthew Bates and the unfortunate attacks against him. So then that might be another couple weeks, and then we'll turn our attention to another subject. So I've been talking to my team about what subject to select, and I look forward to getting more into that over the coming weeks. So, hey, thanks for watching this Veracity Hill drive time. Sorry I couldn't respond more with the comments as the phone slips out of my hand. And if you got subject content suggestions, send my way. Use the Veracity Hill contact form at the website. That's one of the best ways to get in contact with me. So thank you so much. God bless you, and we'll be in touch.